Hello friends! Atmospheric gasoline engines with the designation VTI and turbo engines THP were created during the period of cooperation between Peugeot and the BMW Group. Neither VTI nor THP are without flaws. From the very beginning, there were oil leaks from the oil pump solenoid valve. In addition, often the computer reported errors in the operation of the exhaust gas purification system. The ignition coils did not differ in reliability either. It is worth mentioning the failures in the operation of the phase regulator. The service life of the phase regulator depends on the quality of the oil and the timing of its replacement. However, usually everything ends with the replacement of the valve for regulating the valve timing. At 1.6 THP, the most common concern is the timing chain tensioner. This concerns, first of all, early copies. The younger the Citroen C4, the less likely the problem. The disease also affects 1.6 VTI. The thermostat is handed over after 100 to 120,000 kilometers. Sometimes one of the pipes of the cooling system leaks. Another weak point is the cooling system pump. Trouble with the cooling system can result in expensive repairs. Due to overheating in 1.6 VTI, valve seats fall out. VTI engines do not have turbocharging and direct fuel injection. Therefore, they are less susceptible to fuel quality and do not carry the risk of piston cracking, which sometimes happened in THP engines. Owners of cars with VTI sometimes encounter various anomalies or difficult startups in the cold season. There are several reasons. Among them are camshaft position sensors. They are located in the plastic cover of the engine, and since the motor operates at a relatively high operating temperature, higher than TNR, the cover deforms over time. This leads to a change in the position of the sensors, which begin to give false information. The disease is characteristic of cars operated in the city, where high temperatures are most often reached. During operation, you have to deal with oil leaks through the oil filter housing. Gaskets will need to be replaced. The crankshaft seal may also be leaking. After 100 to 150,000 kilometers, oil consumption often begins to increase. It is possible to moderate the appetite after replacing the valve stem seals. Usually, they are changed along with the timing chain. Despite numerous improvements, the VTI and THP motors are still quite a risky choice. According to the owners, C4 with a 1.6 VTI and 1.6 THP engine consumes about the same amount of fuel when driving quietly in the city, about 9 liters per 100 kilometers. More frequent pressing of the gas pedal in the case of the turbo version leads to a noticeable increase in fuel consumption. The 110 horsepower 1.6 with the TU5 index comes from the 80s, perhaps the most reliable in the line. In 2014, it was replaced by an upgraded version of the EC5 with variable valve timing, which increased the power to 115 horsepower. To drive the timing of both engines, a toothed belt is used. The first belt replacement is recommended after 100,000 kilometers of run, and subsequent every 60,000 kilometers. Motors delivers a minimum of problems. After 150 to 200,000 kilometers, it may be necessary to replace the valve cover gasket and the ignition module. In addition, sometimes the radiator fan control unit fails. Sometimes in the engine compartment at the attachment points, the fuel supply pipes are wiped. In 2013, a 3-cylinder turbocharged 1.2 ETHP, also called PureTech, appeared under the hood. This is a modified version of the old aspirated 1.0 VTI and 1.2 VTI, equipped with direct injection. The C4 II offered only the turbocharged series marked with the EB index. The motor has nothing in common with the previous EP series, VTI and THP. In addition to the 3 cylinders, it features an oil bath toothed timing belt, just like the Ford 1.0 EcoBoost engine. However, unlike it, The 1.2 ETHP uses a balance shaft connected to the crankshaft using gears. First, in 2013, a 130 horsepower version was introduced, and the following year it was supplemented by a more modest 110 horsepower. Both modifications use the same turbocharger, and different power is due to differences in the electronics settings. Until recently, 1.2 ETHP was considered relatively reliable, including due to the fact that the manufacturer did not make the same mistake as in the case of TNR. The ETHP has had forged pistons from the start. They tolerate loads much better and are less prone to the accumulation of soot. However, in recent years, with increasing mileage, recurring problems have begun to appear. For example, after 80 to 100,000 kilometers, leaks are detected from under the cylinder head. The cost of elimination, replacing the cylinder head gasket, is quite high. The manufacturer recommends changing the timing belt after 180,000 kilometers or 120 months. Oddly enough, the oil used is simply SAE 0W30 with the PSA B71 2312 specification. It soon became clear that the wear products of the timing belt operating in an oil bath clog the oil pump. Cleaning is a tedious and expensive procedure because you have to disassemble the entire engine and change the oil several times. In Europe, the diesel version of the Citroen C4 with 1.6 HDI is quite popular. The motor differs from earlier designs with the same name in the presence of an 8-valve blockhead and particulate filter. The main advantage is very low fuel consumption. Of course, it is not as small as the manufacturer promised, but if you follow the rules, you can keep within 5 liters per 100 kilometers. All diesel engines have a timing belt drive. The manufacturer prescribes its replacement after 240,000 kilometers or 10 years. The HDI and EHDI engines have a so-called wet particulate filter in the exhaust gas treatment system with an EOLYS fluid supply system that needs to be replenished after 100,000 kilometers. This filter is the least problematic and the cheapest to replace. In addition, a blue HDI version was proposed, using a selective SCR-type catalyst, the task of which is to reduce the content of nitrogen oxides only. It requires the use of AdBlue fluid to function. Until 2015, not very reliable piezoelectric VDO nozzles were installed. If one refused, the others soon gave up. The exception is the EHDI until 2013 and the 93 horsepower version. Both were equipped with more reliable Bosch electromagnetic injectors, which are also repairable. Among the typical problems, one can single out failure of the EGR system, and in cars without AdBlue, contamination of the DPF particulate filter. In 2.0 HDI 16V, sometimes the chain connecting the camshafts is stretched. It is a pity that the basic versions of the Citroen C4 with 1.4, 1.6, and 1.6 VTI have only a 5-speed manual. The clutch has to be updated after 150 to 200,000 kilometers. Optionally, for 1.6 VTI, it was possible to order a 4-speed automatic AL4/DP0. It received unflattering reviews due to being too slow and potential problems with the solenoids. The THP engine was also paired with an automatic EGS6 dual-clutch gearbox. Its electronic part can fail. The weaker version 1.2 ETHP was equipped with a 5-speed manual, and the stronger version was equipped with a 6-speed one. In addition, the latter received an excellent 6-speed Aisin automatic as an alternative. Suspension Citroen C4, traditionally for French compacts, has McPherson struts at the front and a torsion beam at the rear, on springs. Chassis settings are soft. The car rolls a lot in corners, but at the same time it dampens bumps perfectly. At the moment, the owners find no reason to complain about the durability of the suspension. There are already replacements on the market that can save on repairs. Silent blocks of front levers and ball bearings go over 100 to 120,000 kilometers. Silent blocks of the rear beam have to be updated in the segment of 100 to 150,000 kilometers. Next, the front wheel bearings may make noise. The bearing is pressed into the steering knuckle. Front and rear shock absorbers typically last over 100 kilometers. The steering uses an electro-hydraulic booster. It can unexpectedly cause relatively high costs. The cause is one of the hoses that is clogged. This causes an increase in pressure in the servo control system, which leads to hydraulic fluid leaks. As a working fluid, not the previously popular ATF Dexron is used, but LDS. The same fluid that is used in the hydropneumatic suspensions of the Citroen C5 and C6. The system is filled with 1.8 liters. Fluid leakage can destroy the electric pump. Unfortunately, due to the location of the pump under the wing, even a caring owner who regularly looks under the hood will not be able to detect a leak in a timely manner. An alarm should be caused by unusual sounds or noise that occur when maximum pump performance is required. In older specimens, corrosion of the bracket, platform, under the left leg is sometimes found. Red plague sometimes settles in the area of the attachment points of the driver's seat. There are cars with paint swelling on the aluminum hood and red spots on the inside of the doors and trunk lid, near the welds. After 150 to 200,000 kilometers, the stove radiator is clogged. If you know of other model malfunctions, be sure to write about it.